Before I start, I want to appreciate even our father, Prophet Paul Moneki, for this opportunity to interact with the young people. And before I begin, let me start with a word of prayer. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we exalt you, we glorify you. Thank you for our viewers out there, and even thank you for us that are here, even our panelists. Father, we pray that even as we talk about the young people in leadership, they will benefit, they will be transformed, they will be changed, they'll become better. Their unanswered questions will be answered, and they'll gain a new direction. In Jesus' mighty name have I prayed and believed.
Amen.
Amen. Welcome back. We've been talking about the young and in Christ, taking up leadership roles, taking up to their future, and we've had a great discussion. We've talked about where you're starting, where you're headed, the things to look out for, the pitfalls, the red flags of leadership. We've talked about almost everything. So we are coming to the end of the program, and I wouldn't let them go until they have talked about some of these matters. And so we want to take them back to their youthful years and talk about their fears, things they thought were important and no longer important, things that they should have invested in and did not invest in. So we'll start with the fears, or maybe how to handle the things that you think you're inadequate. Because most of the young people, when they step out there and they're given an opportunity, maybe that sense of not being adequate enough makes them step back. Cece, what would you say about the fears that people have in life?
It's quite interesting. Familiarity, when you know, a prophet may not be respected in his own time.
Yeah.
And normally it's not because that prophet is not a prophet.
Mm.
It's because the people around think they know. Sometimes you think you know your capacity and you don't know. One time, and I tell you, you may find yourself representing either your organization or your family in a certain setup and gathering, and you speak and people later on ask you, so who are you? And those are pointers sometimes to yourself, underrating yourself, you know. People judge you based on either face value or, and you cannot judge yourself like that, you know. You must allow yourself to be judged by the product you deliver and not what you feel or you know, what people around you says. And sometimes these fears. And one thing, for example, if you have fears in life, you know, you also want to fit in. You know, you want to look like others, and so you are pushed. We've just been talking about some money. You know, 6 million. You talked about 6 million. I talked about 3.6 million. Maybe we should not even have talked about that, because somehow people think 6.6. You know, it's not the case. One time I took a loan when I was very young.
Yeah.
500,000 from Barclays Bank to buy a pickup.
Wow.
And at some point, I got glued to buying the pickup. I forgot what the pickup was supposed to do. So that I got the money, and the person who was selling the pickup to me changed his mind.
Now you have half a million.
That is the biggest dilemma you can have in life. You are so eager, wanting to do something, but you have no clear understanding of what the end is. You either want to buy that thing so that, well, you know, when you are together with other people, you also have something. Believe you me, I think that is one of the things in my life that I think was most wasteful, because that money lost focus, value. I didn't waste it per se, but I misused the money.
Most of it.
And it costed me 6 years of paying for it. Very painful.
Yeah.
So there are things, decisions you make that are, you know, when you're young, that, you know, and either out of pressure or whatever it is you're thinking is not thought through to the end, you end up messing.
Yeah.
I think that is almost a combination of mistakes that we make as we grow.
As you're coming up.
Yeah.
I like that, yes.
Now, this takes me back to when I was in Form 4. I remember I feared failure. From Form 1, I used to be in the top 3.
Yeah.
The farthest I went is to be a number 5 in class, in secondary school.
Congratulations.
But inside me, there was a lot of fear of failure. And at one point, before we sat for our Form 4 examination, which was KCE by then, without the S, Those days, huh? There was that thought in me, what would happen if I don't make it? And it was a nagging thought.
Yeah.
It was like it would be the end of the world for me.
Yeah.
It was like if I don't get the right scores, it's the end of the world. I've missed a ticket to heaven. It was such a thing. It was so exaggerated in my mind.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't want to face my parents with a failure. If what would the society say? They are used to a man who is always number 1, 2, 3, number 1, 2, 3. How will I face my village mates to tell them I didn't make it?
The pressure.
It was pressure, a nagging feeling. In fact, the last week, I was less stressed. I remember, those days, the issues of guidance and counseling in school was not very pronounced.
Yeah.
So you had to tough it out. I remember I could hardly eat. I had a kind of a flu because, of anxiety. Now I can say I can look back and say this was anxiety. Good enough. I did well at the end of the day. In our days, you are either a Division 1 and 2. I got a Division 2, a strong Division 2 for that. That would propel me forward. But I would want to emphasize this, the torment that comes with the fear of failure. And then later on, it came in a different version when I was newly employed. I knew I had a responsibility towards my parents. I needed to succeed very quickly. And within the very first and the second year, it was kind of, I'm not moving in the speed that I expected or I had put for myself, the target in my money and my finances. So again, I fell into the trap of falling to a trap of depression and stress.
Serious.
And it came with a spiritual version of it, so to call it. So I would go home after work, and then I would leave home at midnight, go to a church that had a nice basement, and spend the whole night praying until tomorrow I would be in my place of work again. So that pattern of living and not knowing how to manage anxiety and fear led me to a point whereby I went to hospital and I didn't really know where I was sick, And it took one of the doctors quite some time to sit with me. Thank God he was a believer, a doctor for that. And he had a background to something to do with the mind and all that. And he deciphered what the problem was. He told me, listen here, my dear young man, I will give you a medical leave for 2 months. And what you do, go home and eat, drink, and sleep. And don't go for prayer and fasting. He took authority over me.
Yeah.
And there I was, coming back home, feeling like a defeated soldier. Looking all around and saying, now, what do my parents think about me? I've not made it. I have not achieved the targets that I had for them. And there I was back home because I was not married, sleeping in my old room in my parents' compound and waking up, eating. But that time, I started gaining skills of tolerance in life, skills of being tough and being able to be myself. At the end of the day, I went back to work, having learned my own lesson of being a man, knowing how to handle stress, to handle fear, to handle frustration. That was a big beginning for me. And without it, I think I would not have gone far. I would have even become a nervous wreck, a nervous breakdown out of not knowing how to handle anxiety, fear, when targets have not been achieved. I just was beating myself too much. But I went back with the help of this doctor, who was also a believer, who took time to do the counseling. Funny enough, the person who did all the tests in the hospital, for them to realize that the problem was not really medical, it was of the mind and anxiety and all that, was the person who was to become my best incorporator on when I was to get married. So with a lot of love, these people checked out what was wrong with me, and at the end of the day, having checked everything, they said, health-wise, you are well.
Wow.
But there is a problem with the way you are taking life.
Ah.
You are being unrealistic.
Wow.
You're hurting yourself. You know, it was a humbling moment. And I would say from there on, it became the foundation of the many things that I do today. The fact that a business has not gone through today will not make me sleepless. That a check did not go through will not make me not eat my food or be full of acid in my stomach.
No.
It won't. Because I have known how to handle rough situations. And that has become a foundation of what I am today.
Talk to me about your greatest risk that you took and worked for you.
Well,
The step of faith.
I would put it like this. I don't want to go to just a single instance, but I want to put it across the way it came to my life.
Yeah.
Having given my life to Jesus when I was 16, I have gone through the milestones of doing things foolishly, thinking that they are the best.
Yeah.
And then, over time, I realized I should not have done that. Whatever I thought was very spiritual, over time I come with the help of hindsight and say, hii tu ilikuwa ni upuzi tu. Ilikuwa ni ujinga wa ujana. You know, with time, going over the milestones.
So it's all okay to make those small.
Oh, yes. They are natural. They are good.
Yeah.
You find yourself, you did an investment that you are so excited. You went
They
speaking in tongues, and they never picked.
Yeah.
And
I
then
was speaking in tongues. And
Sure. For you to now swallow your pride and admit that the way I approached that business was not right. It takes a lot of maturity over time to overcome that and learn your lessons. And you're not heartbroken, but you can tell someone else, please don't do that. I've been there.
I know,
and I've burnt my fingers
Yeah.
in doing that. And that way, over time, I look back and I can say sincerely, with all humility, I don't think I have a regret in life.
Yeah.
Those mistakes have become my running
blameless.
lessons, my moment of knowing how it is not done.
Okay.
They have not become my moments of regretting
Yeah.
over life.
No.
But I know how it is done because I first did it how it's not done.
Yeah.
And then I have come to learn that someone else ought not to make the same mistake. You help them from your own experience. That's how I should put it.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, Samuel.
I think one of the challenges or some of the learnings, you get born again when you are very young. Very young. What tends to happen if you're truly born again is that you lead a very straight life.
Yeah.
So that when you bend a little, you beat yourself
Yeah.
to death.
Yes.
And that is the danger of most people, that sometimes you have held yourself so high, you live in utopia. You forget that you're actually a human being who needs grace, who needs God and people. And sometimes we can end up punishing ourselves for things that we ought not to. I'm glad, Mr. Paul, you talked about beating yourself, or even finding yourself you've made decisions in business that are stupid. In fact, one of the most people right now are facing this. This corona period,
Yeah.
most businesses are facing challenges like you've never seen. People had invested heavily in line either with hospitality, and sometimes you've put in so much you don't know what to do. I know people that are, you have 5 cars that were going on tours and now you're selling one after another. There is no substantial data and information to sort of, from a business point of view, help you project on when things will normalize.
Yeah.
If you do not identify, if you're not real with yourself, you will beat yourself, you will fall down, you will never rise. I have personally invested a lot of money, and maybe you know it.
Yeah.
And put up something that is worth more than 6-7 million, and it's not even complete.
It's true.
And we are sort of in this situation. So how do you
wake up
yourself
and
out
face
of this and
yeah.
move on? If you also you place money before God, you place money before your own life, you can't afford this smile.
Yeah.
I mean,
It is
crying is just for a night, and dawn comes with new things.
Yeah.
So I think we also need to learn how to manage our lives
Yeah.
amid this difficulty,
Crisis,
amid
yeah.
this crisis.
When it
We
is
also
not
need
working.
to be very realistic with ourselves.
You've just lost
with
your
the
job.
relationships that you have. You've just lost your job.
And now,
You have nothing.
Yeah. No savings, nothing.
You okay, well, we may not have time, but there's a man who lost his job somewhere, and the car he used to use to go to work actually turned to be a business platform.
I like that one.
You're buying certain things, delivering certain place, and then you suddenly realize, actually, I don't need to go back to where I was working. So we need to know that when we are down there, it's not done, it's not over. Don't beat yourself, dust yourself, move on.
Yeah.
You need to know that because you are saved from the beginning, you have been saved for many years, you've experienced a relatively cool life.
Yeah, true.
When you trip and fall, don't kill yourself, because that is the worst yardstick. Some of us have never seen the inside of a nightclub.
True.
That's how quote unquote holy we are. And so if you find yourself in a mess at one point, don't kill yourself because you are in that position. Dust yourself, move on.
Yeah.
Move on. You cannot be determined, your life will not be affected by what really is happening around you right now, but it's how you react to that.
Okay.
So sometimes it's important to repackage, forgive yourself, move on.
Yeah.
Admit that you're here, this low now, but you cannot remain here. You must move on.
It is true.
And it's important for me to put in, to add what he's saying, a real experience that was very raw in my life. You see, after this time, I said earlier on in the program that KCC was not paying us. I had a big herd of cattle and all that. Then we had to do away with the animals, at a loss. Because when you sell a dairy cattle like meat, it is a big loss. Big loss. So we suffered loss, and I was unable to pay my house rent in time. It's humbling, and I should say this, and it might help someone. It moved on before I could recoup, because now I had to move to my own place, start off building, and then prices were skyrocketing over building materials and all that. I found myself, I had some backlog paying the school fee of my children. And they were in a private school, primary school. And, it was such a difficult time. Walking in a lot of humiliation and feeling like I don't know what to do. So they had these kind of in the school where my children used to be. If you've not paid your fee in time, they would leave the children without taking them in the bus, and you're in the place of work. So I said I would not want this on my children because it would be dangerous.
Yeah.
So I went to the head teacher and told him I don't have money to pay for the school fee. Not that I am sick. There is no catastrophe that has come to my family. It's just that I am in the process of building a home for my family, and my budget has gone haywire. So I want to know, if you're not going to entertain my children here, don't leave them at the bus stop. Tell me to walk away with them. Because I told the head teacher, I've had my children here right from preschool, baby class, and going all the way. Now here I am. One is in class 6, the other one I think is in class 2 or so. So if you're not going to entertain my children, please tell me.
Wow.
And I went further. I went to talk to a public school head teacher to accommodate my children.
You actually walked off with them that day?
No, I didn't walk out with them. I went and made preparations for them because the head teacher told me I need to talk to the directors.
Yeah.
of the school. I said, so that my children don't get embarrassed the next time, what I do is go to a public school, secure places for them, and there we go. So come the reporting day for the new term, I went to prepare for the new school, and I had prepared them psychologically. But the head teacher came looking for me and the kids in church. And took me aside after service and said, hey, we want you to bring back your children in school. The directors have said they will give you all the time you need to sort yourself out. So he said, do a letter, promise us when you are going to pay the amount of money, but don't bother, and we will not leave your children at the bus stop. I said, I think I'm comfortable with that. And like so God is faithful, and this is where I was pointing to go. God is faithful. This was the transition from keeping cattle that had failed, and I was going towards the real estate. A quick deal came. I made money. And before the 3 months I had asked for, I went and paid everything for the entire year.
Wow.
Then the head teacher called me again and said, the directors are wondering if you wanted to test our faith. I told them, no, I was not, nilikuwa kaput. I had nothing. But I did not want to lose my dignity by telling you lies and telling you that someone is sick or anything. I was just sincere with you.
Or there's a deal coming through.
Or a deal coming through. I didn't tell them that. So I told them I need a whole 3 months, paying nothing. And I'll come. So within a month, I went back, paid for the whole year. So I'm saying, coming back to what Mutesi is saying, don't beat yourself. Don't hate, don't hang yourself because of embarrassment. And even when you change your state, and might be some friends will not fit into the new place you've gone to live, get rid of that baggage. Those who you are calling friends were just a baggage. Forget them and live your own life. I think I've said enough.
I think life is real. We need to be very honest and genuine with ourselves. Even on matters money, sometimes you just have to be very truthful. You will lose friendship because you're trying to rescue your name, whereas actually you are tarnishing it further. Tell people, I thought I will get this on Friday. It has become quite difficult. I am not in a position. Can you give me more time? I do X, Y. But if you try and pretend, oh, they've been giving me, keep lying, people sympathize. People may feel bad for a while, but the truth sets you free. They will realize, actually, he told me the truth. The same way you went to the head teacher and just said the truth.
True.
You say it as it is. So it buys you your integrity even at a time of failure.
Instead of switching off your phones,
you
stop
phone,
picking.
You don't pick my call.
You block others.
You
it ruins.
Just genuinely go and tell people, my salary did not come through this month. I had promised you. It is nowhere.
And
if it comes through, I will give you. It is better that way than keep that person also making decisions on money that may not be available.
True.
You hurt them more.
And later on, there's no people capital. I remember that one. There is then the place of God, what God ought to do and where man ought to do. And I see that confusion a lot in a church scenario. Like you were saying, you're still speaking in tongues, but you're making a wrong decision. When do you have that clear cut that this should be my role? Maybe there's no clear cut, but this ought to be what I should be performing as a person in the society, in my work, and this is God's role. If I would say, what would that be?
A very interesting scenario is that you say, you're speaking in tongues and still making a wrong decision. How sure are you that is the wrong decision? Because it didn't bear the fruits you thought it should. God might have intended that to be totally like that, so that one or two other things happen. Because there are times when things just get to the dead end, then you begin to actually see the light. Trust you me, even in this pandemic period, there are people who will emerge better by far than they were.
Those seemingly now.
And it is tough because they are now being trained to make tough decisions, to take risks they would have otherwise not taken.
Yeah.
Trust you me, as I go to work, or at least as I move around, I'm seeing more people now living in their own compound, planting skooma and other things.
And spinach, yeah.
While they are parking outside, and they've built humbly, but they are in their own compound. It's probably a decision they would have taken when they had the job. They would have done a better job, and now they are being forced by these two. But again, when you look at it, ultimately, that might actually set stage for them.
For the next
They have taken the bitter pill.
Yeah.
They have accepted their status, and they are now responding positively from where they are.
Uh-huh. Oh.
Yeah. Now, coming to the role of God and my role, you know, the human beat and the place of God. When you look at God bringing Israel from Egypt, where they used irrigation, and bringing them, and he says, I'm taking you to a land that has hills and valleys, that has rain in its season. God wanted the people to do their work. As someone has put it, he talked of milk. It meant that you need to keep livestock. God talked of honey. It meant you needed to keep hives, to have bees. And those bees would sting you.
Yeah.
Not because God promised you honey, the bees would come cursing you. No. No, they will sting you. And you'll have to think, now that I'm stung today as a child of God, do I go and get stung tomorrow? No. So you get something to help you, either smoke, some smoke of some sort to keep the bees at bay from you, because that is your role. And it brings me to something very important. The difference between faith and presumption has a very thin line. Because faith in Hebrews 11 is about things that are not seen. It is about things that are that are hoped for. But now there comes a point whereby presumption sets in, whereby we want God to do your role and he does his role. That will never work. If God will give you milk in Canaan, you'll have to fight the Canaanites. Then when you settle down, you'll have to keep cattle. And it will start with a heifer. 2 years for the heifer before it can start giving you milk as a cow. It will not be a miracle that because God said this heifer in 2 months, I'm going to milk. It doesn't work like that. That is presumption. Faith is, it's going to take 2 years of hard work, taking care of this heifer until it is inseminated, or whatever happens, the natural way, and then a bull comes and it is pregnant, and then after 9 months, you get the first outcome and start milking. So the role of God is that he is going to give you the strength, but you have to fight. He's going to give you the wisdom to keep livestock, like he did to Jacob, but it is you who is going to keep even the bees and think about it and work for it. And this, as we've been mentioning about this period that we have COVID-19, there are some people who might reach a point because you're doing so well and things went haywire. Be careful not to lose your faith at a time like this. Don't reach a point where you're bitter with God. Don't reach a point whereby you feel that God was not faithful. And some people ask, where was God when all my vehicles were auctioned? Where was God when all those guys came knocking for their owns and I didn't have anything to do? Why didn't God just cause something to happen? No, even now, God is still on the throne. And even in this situation, he is using it to mature you and me. These tough conditions will leave us in a better position. The Bible says that gold is refined through fire. There is the fire that has come with the adverse effects of coronavirus. This pandemic situation. It is a time of being refined. And I would quickly say this. There are 2 agendas that are competing against each other at this period. The enemy, Satan, is having his own agenda of having a one world government through this pandemic and the catastrophes that are coming on the world, that the governments and the people of the world will be ready for anybody to come in who would offer a solution to the economic woes and the health woes in the world. But on the other hand, God is also having his own agenda of having a glorious end-time church that is refined, that is without spot. So let us cheer up and know that we are going to be better than we were before COVID came knocking.
I think a very great, in retrospect, when the children of Israel left Egypt, what kind of miracles did they witness? Very superb miracles.
Great.
I think if we went in tandem and incrementally, then their journey to Canaan should have been on horses and elephants.
Yeah, the style should have.
I mean, incrementally. I
Yeah.
mean, you start with this and that and that, and you
and that.
finish with the death of the.
Yeah.
Then
It should-
your means of transport to Canaan should equally be up there.
Yeah.
That really just shows you that there is what God does
Yeah.
and what you should do, and he inculcates that in our way of life.
Yeah.
The same thing, I think, thereon within the story, he says, and he let them pass a certain place where they would not immediately meet. Was it the Philistines or
you
the
say
who?
that. Yeah.
Why? I
Yeah.
mean, there are certain, he wants
To
you to
build
learn
them,
something,
yeah.
but he knows what you can withstand and what you're
you
not. And
can't,
that's
yeah.
why what you're going through is not unique to you, and God is building a character in you. Despite, these issues to do with Corona,
Yeah.
there's a place of God, and there is your place.
Place.
And don't mistake the two.
All right. So as you come to the end of the program, the system today is training the young people to employment, so that when you have a degree, you're just looking for a job. When you get out, majority are wired to step into employment. What would you advise a young person? Yes, they could be looking for the employment, but what would you advise them to open up? You both of you are employed, and I hear you're saying you have your passions working for you. What the advice would you give a young person, even as they step out of the universities, of the colleges?
I think one of the greatest mistakes that we make is, why are you getting employed?
Yeah.
Why?
Money.
There is a greater reason. We are building Kenya. We are building a society.
Yeah.
There is a bigger focus to it. So you got into your career that you may make a difference. That is why we are sometimes mistaken. It's not about, it's not just entirely about a job. It's about the change you bring. It's about young people recognizing that unless we build this country, nobody will do it for us. So when, as a teacher, that passion, yes, I need to get a job, I need a platform, but what change am I seeking to drive within my sphere of influence?
Yeah.
That is critical. And that is what, sometimes we also get to do things because we recognize for this economy, we need to create employments. Who will create employments for us?
Yeah.
Where is this you're going to get employed? And young people need to recognize that they are empowered by education, not so that they get jobs, but so that they create jobs.
Wow.
That is a position we need to agree as a country. And our education system will only make a difference in this society if we are coming out to create jobs. That is the mentality. So that even if you're being employed, you are not only just being employed to get capital, but within the few years you're going to be in that organization, you will create the necessary change and contribute to the general growth of this county, this country. So, and that's why I like young people who are now into technology, who are creating apps that are making a difference, who are looking at problems and providing solutions. So that's the thing. As you come out of universities, as you get into workplace, and that's how you become a leader, to be very frank and honest. If you come with that mentality, your thinking will be different. You will do things in a different way. You will be much more effective. And people will see that, and people will want to nurture that, particularly those people who are forward-thinking, leaders who are forward-thinking. When I see a young person who has a good idea, he might not have capital, but I know somebody who has capital, who probably we can link up and do something. That should be the mentality.
Yes, and I should add to say that nobody will ever employ you to make you rich on earth. Immediately you come into the compound and you have a bigger vehicle than your boss and your director. You're on your way out. And this is should be a sober realization.
Yeah.
And you should not put yourself in a fix, not unless you are a shareholder in any company or any organization. You should have an exit plan always. It should be at the back of your mind that you are there to serve and make your employer rich.
If that's the government
and
of
if
Kenya.
you want to be rich, in the government or even in the private sector, you know, in government, you're there to give a good reputation to your employer, the government of the day. You see? But if you want to have your own destiny fulfilled, have a plan of your own investment. Either an investment, and I emphasize again, is not necessarily only money. It would be your skills, as Motesia is putting it.
Yeah.
It would be those young men that are coming up with apps that are solving the problems of the society, and you patent it quickly. There are those during this season, there have been COVID, are those who have come up with equipment that are helping with
Respiration.
with the respiration. Yes? And they are within us. They patent that and they become multimillionaires over time, even in this bad situation. So, what am I driving to? There are 2 or 3 sources of wealth. Either, after you are through with formal schooling, you will get wealth either from inheritance. Your parents are well off and they have enough, so you don't need to get employed by anybody to get capital to start off on your own. They even give you the initial experience under their wings, and then when you are mature enough, you are ready to go and they support you.
Yeah.
That is one very beautiful scenario.
Yeah.
But not everybody is that fortunate.
Yeah.
So some of us and many of us will require first to go out there and work. Not that you become rich there, so in terms of money, but you become rich in terms of experience. You mature in your career path. So that when you will go out there to make your own startup, that experience that you gained while you are under someone else will be the anchor that will make sure that you don't just burn your fingers quickly.
Yeah.
Because you'll have subjected yourself to obey someone else and run the ropes and the discipline. So that over time, when you are left on your own, you will have a very high probability of making it through the turbulences of a startup. Because in a startup, may it be a church, may it be a mtumba business, may it be a matatu business, it has its own turbulences.
True.
But when you are employed by someone else there, you had time for him to cushion you. He took up the pressure that was coming with the business. You had the easy time for yourself to run. More than money, that running, that lesson you got when you were under someone else, if you want to go and become a young pastor and start your own church, first submit to the man of God who you are under, learn from him, see how he handles the turbulences within the church. When you are out there on your own, you'll be able to handle both tough and successful times. So that is what will become the backbone of your ministry. If it is business, the same principles apply. So to me, employment for you who needs to be employed, it is good so that you run and might be get a retro capital, and then the bigger thing you get is the experience and the running from your boss, which will anchor you when you be on your own. So I would say, for me, employment is just a springboard and for your progress in your career. It will give you that satisfaction of making progress, of being exposed in that field that you are in. But if you just expect that employment will give you all the money you need, it will make you rich, then you are out for a disappointment. Yes.
As a bottom line, and in addition to that, you will never learn if you have no passion. That is true. You know, I said that, and you know, we must think globally. We if we succeed, if I succeed as Mutisia, and the county is poor, what benefit is there? I get a lot of money and I ship it abroad. Unfortunately, the society currently does not support and does not pay merit because of corruption.
Yeah.
But I tell you the truth, for you to attain the level he's talking about in any organization, if you are not passionate, there are so many people who will leave a certain organization, and the majority of them become nothing, or they just go to hard cows.
It is true.
Yet you've been a professional, you've worked for
Yeah.
many years, and you cannot, nothing you gained from that institution
Or make
will
or made
translate
any difference.
to anything. So if you are not and you're wasting time, it would be such a waste of time for you to be in a place for 30 years so that you just get capital.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
really make sense. First,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not, we are in Kenya, we are in Laikipia County.
Yeah.
If everybody chips in, this county will be great. Business environment will be better. There
Yeah.
will be more money flowing. There is more ideas. There are things that are untapped. But the reason I'm saying this is because the young people, trust you me, currently have more knowledge than ever. It's just that they don't have the fortitude, the tenacity, the courage to follow through, to learn and implement what they have in their minds. In terms of knowledge, because of the flow of information, internet,
And
there's a lot
technology,
of
there's-
technology. You
yeah.
know what Steve Jobs did.
Did.
You know what Bill Gates did. You
Yeah.
know who these guys who had powerful
You know the
startups.
era
But what are
that
you
someone-
doing yourself? If you are employed to make apps in an organization, you can imagine how much knowledge will amass within that environment. Why can't you transform that now upon 5, 6, 10 years of employment to something meaningful? But sometimes I feel like, yeah, I can get rich, I have money, but what is that all about if everybody around me is poor?
Yeah.
Why, sorry to name places, but why would you say the West appears better? Systems are in place, everybody is working, diligence, patience, input is paid and rewarded. We reward mediocre. We sometimes we are like, who do you know?
It is true.
I have tenders.
Whom do I give?
I do, but it's about also transforming society with the little knowledge you have.
Yeah.
Where you live, if you have an idea of how to manage livestock, for example, why can't you use that knowledge as a
Help
young
the-
person, help those people around you, and within a short time
better.
you'll have a business environment that will allow you as a society to come up. So we cannot also be very individualistic. We must also think at society level. It's critical if we are to succeed.
Thank you very much for coming and having you here. The sacrifice is truly appreciated. And I'll give you people a chance, an opportunity to say one word as a parting shot for the young people aspiring to become leaders, aspiring to do business, aspiring in employment. One word, Paul.
Yes, I would say to the young men and women looking at us this evening that the greatest thing to do in life is to discover why God brought you on earth. That purpose of God, that is your destiny. It might not necessarily be in monetary terms. It could be more in transformative terms. Might be God brought you on earth to bring a change in your society, in alleviating poverty. You will run projects in a professional way that will not necessarily make you rich. You might be comfortable and able to take your children to school and live in a good house, but it might not make you a billionaire. But there is something greater than billions of shillings. The satisfaction of seeing people who are poor, people who are marginalized, rising up and having a hope for the future. So I would say the critical thing for the young, discover why God brought you on earth. After you discover that, put all your efforts, put your best into it, be passionate about it, work at it as if there is no tomorrow. Do it with all your heart, with all your mind, and that satisfaction will carry you for a long time to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Samuel.
I think for me is simply don't devalue yourself. You have a value in you that is greater than you think. if you stood before somebody who does not know where you come from, where the stresses you've gone through, the failures that you have had, and we dress you nicely in a suit, and we coach you on what you need to say. In fact, even better off, dig deep within you and say something before a leader. You will be amazed how valuable they will take you at that point in time. Because you have content. What you need to do is to know how to package yourself and how to best tap in your environment, in the relationships that you have, how best to utilize what God has given you. You know, let the knowledge, let your knowledge and your belief in God give you the courage that you need. In fact, I am convinced that is why the Bible, and in the Bible, Joshua was told to be courageous so many times,
True, yeah.
because what you need in most cases is courage. Because you need courage to express the content you have. You need courage to be able to, talk to people, go places, display your merchandise, talk to people, convince them of the business ideas that you have. You need courage. You need courage. And courage will never come if you don't trust in the abilities that God has given you. So please, you are valuable, and trust that you are.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mtisia. Thank you so much, Paul, for sacrificing your time. We know you're busy and you've taken time to transform. And I believe that will come back in good measure. That majority out there have had things they have not had before. They have experienced your world in their time. And so coming to the days to come, I believe their lives will not be the same again. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for our viewers. Thank you for keeping at it. Now we've gone for 3 times on this same topic, and I believe that your life will never be the same again. We have learned about leadership, and I pray out there the young people will take it seriously, implement the things you've heard. May they give you courage, may they give you confidence, may they give you faith even to step out there and do that which God has called you to do. Thank you so much. We want to appreciate even our prophet, even as we end this program, for this chance and opportunity. And with that, we say bye-bye.